Today I'll be showing you how to create a device profile. You'll need to log into VoiceConsole using an account that has permissions to do this. The built-in administrator accounts, as well as any other user account with a role that has device profile creation as allowed, will work. Once you're logged in, click on the VoiceConsole tab and go to your device management. Under Navigation, you can click on Device Profiles, and this will show you the profiles that you already have created for your site. Now there are two options when you create a device profile. The first one being that you can create a new profile completely from scratch, brand new. Or you can use an existing device profile as your starting point. The advantages to using an existing profile are that your wireless information will already be loaded into the profile for you, so you won't need to know what that is if it has not changed, and you will also have all of your advanced settings already in the profile. And you can edit those as you see fit. So to begin with, let's go through the process of what you would need to do if you wanted to start a device profile completely new. Under Device Profile Actions, you simply create a new device profile. You will probably see this screen unless you have installed a self-signed or a signed certificate, because the certificate that ships with VoiceConsole is most likely going to be expired. You can click on Advance and then Proceed. So you'll want to give your profile a name. In this case, we're just going to call it Test. And you want your profile to be a full profile. The configuration only option is not for use with Talkman devices. That is only for use if you're using a third-party device like a CK3X or something along those lines. We're not going to cover that in this video. So after you select full profile, you're going to want to select which voice client you want to use. And then you're going to be presented with the option of what voice you want to use. English 1 is a more mechanical voice. English 6 is a more natural sounding voice. Once you've made your selections here, you click on the Next. This is the screen where you're going to decide how you're going to create the device profile. Creating a new configuration would be just basically starting it from scratch. You're going to have to input all of the information, and that's the one we're going to look at right now. These other two options both allow you to use an existing profile or configuration. So for now, let's go with Create New Configuration, and you'll say Next. You'll have the option of where do you want to have this device profile created. If you have more than one site, it will show here. In this case, I'm only showing the one site, so we're going to go with that. And then you click Next. And this is where you are going to set up all of your configurations for this profile. Now with the newer versions of Voice Catalyst, you are going to be required to select, is it a default profile or not? This will show you the modules that will be installed. All of this is just set by the version of Voice Catalyst or Voice Client that you were creating the profile from. Now down below, you're going to have 3 tabs. On this first tab, and by the way, these 3 tabs are if you are using a Voice Catalyst, not a Voice Client. So on this first tab for the network configuration, you're going to need to know all of this information. Usually this would be provided by your IT department or your network administrator. So you're going to need to know what the SSID is that the devices need to connect to on your wireless network, what type of security it has, and depending on the type of security that you select, then that will provide other options here. You will need to know what the key or the password is for that wireless SSID. You also have a few options that you can go with here. Your power mode, this refers to the radio that is on the device. It is going to default to this PSP, which is Power Save Polling mode. This is a holdover from days gone by whenever the devices did not have very good batteries. The batteries would wear down very quickly and may not have lasted a full shift if the radio was constantly aware mode, which is what CAM is. This really does not apply today. The newer devices have very robust batteries, and rather than having power save polling, which lets your radio be put to sleep by the device, we always recommend that you use the constantly aware mode, CAM, so that your radio is always awake and ready to work. Site survey diagnostics is actually a very important troubleshooting tool, and we do recommend that you leave this enabled. What this does is it allows the device logging to collect information about the network connectivity that the device is seeing. It will record things such as the access point that the device is connected to, what the RSSI, and what the signal strength for that access point are. Your RF modulation mode, this is the band that the device will work on. Now, Honeywell has given the option on the newer radios to set them to use both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. However, Honeywell themselves has now recommended that this is not an option that should be used. The devices should be configured to use only the 2.4 or only the 5 gigahertz. The channel list is optional, and you would want to put this in if you know the exact channels that you're using. Now, for the most part with 2.4, if you have your network configured correctly, you're going to be using 1, 6, and 11 if you are in the US. Again, this is optional, and one of the only reasons that you would want to use this, if you're seeing a lot of issues with the devices during roaming, you could cut some time down on what the roaming is doing by letting it know, well, here's the only channels that you should be scanning on. The 802.11n data rates, you should leave these enabled, and the NTP client, this is what's going to get the device the timestamp from your network. By default, it is configured to the time.windows.com, and it will pull its timestamp that way. In your device to console communications, should be set for HTTP by default, and we do recommend that you leave it that way unless you specifically have an environment that is completely configured to use HTTPS. And if you're unsure about this parameter, just go ahead and reach out to us at Mountain Leverage Support. So you have two more tabs up here during device profile creation. The second one is going to be your scanner options. These are extensive, and these pertain to the onboard scanner on some of the models of the Talkman devices. And you can go through these to see if there is any specific symbology that you would need to set. For the most part, leaving these at default will be sufficient. If you do see scanning issues during use, we do recommend that you reach out to Mountain Leverage, and we will help you look through these and decide if there are some settings that would need to be changed for this. Your third tab is for your advanced settings. Now, obviously, it's going to be blank because this is a brand new from scratch profile. If you are unsure what settings you should use here, we do recommend that you reach out to Mountain Leverage Support, and we can assist you with that. However, you can also click on the help for this page, and this will take you to the Honeywell site for help with VoiceConsole. Now, the page that drops you into really isn't going to have what you need for those settings. So what you want to do is search up here for configuration parameters, and that will bring this here up, and you want to click on your configuration parameters here, and you will see a list of the various parameters that you can add into the advanced settings there. Now, not all of these should be added to a device profile. So again, we do recommend that you reach out to Mountain Leverage if you do not know what type of parameters you should add there. But clicking on each one of these will take you to a page that then lists what the various settings are, and if you click on each one of those settings, it will give you a further description. Alright, so coming back to here, I'm not going to add anything in there because I'm not actually going to save this particular profile since I did not complete it. But that is the basics of what you would have to go through if you're going to set up a profile from scratch without using an existing profile as a template. So the second method that you can use is the setting up a device profile using either an already existing profile or the VRG, which is the configuration from a profile that you have exported either from another system or from this system. So if you want to use a VRG, you would have to export it. And to do that, you need to click directly on the name of a profile that exists, and then under the device profile actions, you would click on export the configuration of this device profile. And as you can see, that will come up and it will give you an option to export this as a VRG. However, the easiest way to create a new device profile by using an already existing profile is to simply point to that profile. So you would once again click on create a new device profile, and you will give it a name. You still want to say that it is a full profile. You want to select the voice client or voice catalyst that you wish to use, select your language, and click on next. And here you want to click on copy from an existing profile. Now if you had exported that VRG, you would select this option and go to that file where you saved it. In this case though, we're going to copy from an existing profile. You pick the profile you want to use as your template and you say next. Select the site that you want it to be created in, click next. Select whether you want this to be a default profile or not, and then you will see that down below all of your settings are already here. Now of course it's not going to show you what the key is for your network for security purposes, but rest assured that whatever that key is that was being used on the profile that you have selected as a template, it is entered here correctly. It will also have all of the options set here that you had previously on the other device, and you will already see whatever advanced settings that you have set. Now when you're creating a profile from a template of another profile, you do have the option to add or remove advanced settings here. And again, if you're not sure what advanced settings you want to add or remove, we do recommend that you reach out to Mountain Leverage and we will help you with that. And once you have made all of the selections that you want on here, made sure that everything is set up the way that you want it to be, added any advanced settings, you would just click on finish and that would create your new device profile.